This is not officially the start of the Board of Supervisors meeting, but we are going to have our swearing-in ceremonies. So thank everybody for coming here this evening on a cold night, but it should be a nice, pleasant evening. We're going to be swearing in three gentlemen who have won office, elected or re-elected to office. Swearing in all three people this evening will be Mrs. Patricia Rocco, who is the mother of Supervisor-elect Jeffrey Rocco, and is a notary public, and so she has the qualifications to swear in the candidates or swear in the office holders. We're going to begin with our re-elected auditor, Mr. Tom McGoldrick. Tom, you have a Bible? Tom? Yeah, there's a Bible in there. Is there a, okay, all right.
Yes, I do. Is it on?
I don't know, you have to talk into it first.
Hello? Hello?
Just touch, yeah. Yep, sounds like you're on. Yep.
Sir?
Take care, sir.
I, Thomas McGoldrick,
I, Thomas McGoldrick,
being duly elected
being duly elected
as a Falls Township Auditor,
as a Falls Township Auditor,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the laws of the County of Bucks,
the laws of the County of Bucks,
and the laws of the Township of Falls.
and the laws of the Township of Falls.
I further promise
I further promise
to perform the duties
to perform the duties
of my office
of my office
with fidelity
with fidelity
for the good of the people of Falls Township.
for the good of the people for Falls Township.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we'll have the swearing in of Mr. Brian Galloway as Supervisor of the Township of Falls.
However you want to stand. Hello. So would you like to hold the Bible?
Sure. There you go. That's good.
Raise your right hand, please. I, Brian M. Galloway,
I, Brian M. Galloway,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the laws of the County of Bucks,
the laws of the County of Bucks,
and the laws of the Township of Falls.
and the laws of the Township of Falls.
I further promise
I further promise
to faithfully and impartially
to faithfully and impartially
perform the duties of the office of Township Supervisor
perform the duties of the office of Township Supervisor
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
for the good of the people
for the good of the people
of Falls Township.
of Falls Township.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Now, do I go up there?
How do you feel, Barry? Okay, and now, being sworn in again, also as a Township Supervisor of Falls Township, Mr. Jeffrey Rocco.
Raise your right hand. I, Jeffrey Rocco,
I, Jeffrey Rocco,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the laws of the County of Bucks,
the laws of the County of Bucks,
and the laws of the Township of Falls.
and the laws of the Township of Falls.
I further promise
I further promise
to faithfully and impartially
perform the duties
of the office of Township Supervisor
of the office of Township Supervisor
to the best of my ability
to the best of my ability
for the good of the people
for the good of the people
of Falls Township.
of Falls Township.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Okay. Thank Mrs. Rocco very much for doing an excellent job, and for everybody being here this evening. We're going to begin our meeting, as we do all meetings of Falls Township Board of Supervisors, with the salute to the flag, please. Okay. This is a reorganization meeting, and so every year boards like this one in boroughs and townships have to reorganize, choosing, naming their officers, chair, vice chair, et cetera. We're going to begin by asking for a motion for a temporary chairman to conduct the meeting until a full-time chairman is appointed.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to appoint Mr. Robert Harvey as temporary chairman.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, item number 1 then is to appoint a chairman for the Falls Township Board of Supervisors for the year 2012. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Robert Harvey as chair for the Board of Supervisors for the year of 2012.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And I'll abstain. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's
you.
Thought you'd want it back now that there was a different board. Item number 2 is chairman appointment of a vice chairman to the Falls Township Board of Supervisors for the year 2012. Is there a motion for a vice chair?
I'd like to appoint Mr. Snipes as vice chair for the year of 2012.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll abstain.
Okay.
Thank you.
Secretary Treasurer appointment. Is there a motion to nominate one of our members as the Secretary Treasurer for the Township of Falls for the year 2012?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to nominate Mr. Jeff Dents as Secretary Treasurer.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, and the Assistant Secretary Treasurer typically is always the manager who has the authority to sign checks and also obviously deal with the township finances in the absence of the Secretary or sometimes in addition to the Secretary Treasurer. Is there a motion then to name Mr. Peter Gray, Township Manager, as the Assistant Secretary Treasurer for the year 2012?
So moved.
Second it.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, establishing meeting dates and times for regular meetings of the Township Board of Supervisors. For this past year, meetings were the first and third Tuesday. Well, they've been the first and third Tuesday for quite a while. For this past year, they were at 7 o'clock. What's the pleasure of the board in terms of establishing the meeting dates and times for the year 2012?
Keep them the same.
Okay. Seems like the mood of the board is to keep the meetings the same. Is there a motion to name the Falls Township Board of Supervisors meetings or designate them to be on the first and third Tuesdays of each month at 7 o'clock?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, there are various solicitors that work for the township. A general counsel, solicitor for the township. There's also a land development attorney, as well as a labor attorney. We have a variety of different letters in from different firms. Mr. Michael Clark, who's been the township solicitor since 2002, I believe, is interested in remaining as the township solicitor and has submitted a letter indicating rates. Just a reminder to board members, when making a motion for solicitors, you must also include the rates that are stated in the letters that they've provided. Is there a motion at this time? Mr. Clark's letter states that the hourly rate for his work for the township would be $170 an hour, the hourly rate of $300 an hour for land development, if he's involved in land development. Is there a motion to reappoint Mr. Michael Clark from Rudolph Clark and Kirk?
We're appointing the firm, right?
Yeah. Yes, we're appointing the
I'll
firm.
make the motion to appoint Rudolph Clark and Kirk
Yes.
as township solicitor, at the rate of $170 per hour and a rate of $300 per hour for land development.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Any comments or questions from board members?
Just, Mr. Chairman, I believe this is the first time we have raised the rates for our solicitor for many years, I think.
A couple of years.
How
yeah.
many?
2007 was the last rating.
Since
2008, excuse me, was the last.
2008, right. So I think it's fair enough that we raise it, and the former rate, I think, was 160 an hour.
That's correct.
So it's a very small raise, but I think given the excellent work the firm has done for us, I think it's a good idea.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For land development, the firm Flager and Yaki has served as the land development attorney for Falls Township since 2004, I believe. The letter from Mr. Randy Flager has the rates for the township at $145 an hour and the rates for development matters for all developers would be $315 an hour. Is there a motion to reappoint the firm of Flager and Yaki to the position of Township Solicitor for Land Development?
I'll make the motion to appoint the firm of Flagger and Yaki to Township Land Development Solicitor at the rate of $145 an hour and $315 per hour for matters charged to developers.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion's made and seconded. Any comments or questions?
It might be useful for the public to know, someone could explain the difference between when we would use our township solicitor for land development matters and when we would use Flager and Yaki.
Okay. Typically, when development comes in, developers who submit plans, those plans are sent to the township engineer, who would review them. They go through the staff here, code enforcement, zoning, et cetera. They would go to the various boards that might have some kind of say over what is going on with that development, whether it's Environmental Advisory Council or Planning Commission, maybe possibly Zoning Board. Anything that goes on in terms of a resolution or that, a resolution that states what the developer is going to do, what conditions they have to meet, what kinds of variances they're given, all of that work is done by the land development attorney. It's essentially, the idea is to divide up some of the work that comes into the township. It's a lot of legal work, and putting, I think, Mr. Prokopiak, who was a supervisor for a while, used to say, putting all your eggs in one basket. By having, all the legal work done by one firm isn't always a good idea. And so if there's work that's being done by Mr. Flager's firm where he's dealing directly with the developer, the higher rate would be charged and the developer would pay it. In matters where he's dealing with the township staff or anyone here, the lower rate is charged, and so the taxpayers are saving some money. But that's different than just the day-to-day operations that Mr. Clark's firm deals with, which could could include some land development, but could also include all kinds of other matters of just basic township services, of advice and legal laws that were passed by the Commonwealth that we now have to abide by. And all kinds of other ordinances and resolutions that we would have to pass or do pass throughout the course of the year. So,
Thank you.
if that helps or not.
Explains it, yes.
Okay. All right. So we had a motion and a second, correct? Any
Yes.
other comments or questions?
No.
Okay. All right. All right. Very well. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And Jordan Yeager from the firm of Curtin and Hefner has been the labor attorney for, I believe, 2 years now, and deals with labor matters. For example, negotiating with some of the unions that we have here in the township for contract negotiations, any kind of labor disputes that might go on, personnel matters. That focuses strictly, sort of a different variety of the law. So Mr. Yeager focuses on the legal matters regarding labor. His rate for the township for general labor matters is $140 an hour, and for any arbitrations or litigation that has to happen, $170 an hour. Is there a motion to reappoint Mr. Jordan Yeager to the position of Labor Counsel for the Township of Falls?
Yes, Mr. Chair. No, go ahead. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint the firm of Curtin and Hefner to the position of Labor Counsel for Falls Township for the year 2012. The rates, with the approved rates of $140 for general labor matters and $170 per hour for arbitration litigation.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Comments or questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. I believe those are all the solicitor positions that we've had. I don't think there's anything new. Okay, in terms of engineers, the township typically has 2 full-time engineers. Mr. Sullivan has worked as the township engineer from various different companies since the spring of 2004. And traffic planning and design has worked as the traffic engineer, specifically dealing with matters regarding roadways, PennDOT issues, since 2004. And also Remington, Vernick, and Beach has worked in the township for about a year now as a conflict engineer. Conflict engineer essentially means if there's a project that comes in to the township that, for example, Mr. Sullivan's firm of T&M, let's just say that some developer comes in who had hired T&M to do some of their plans at some point. Well, obviously we can't have T&M reviewing plans made by T&M, or traffic planning and design can't review plans that someone else in one of their offices may have done. And so a conflict engineer would then come in to take a look at those plans. And so they're basically used as needed, but we have them on file in case we need to have them do something. We don't have to wait for a meeting to appoint someone. The rates for engineers are much more complicated because they have a variety of people working for them. Typically, as a principal engineer, project managers, different kinds of engineers, surveyors, planners, technicians, construction inspectors, survey crews, clerical. So there's a variety of rates here that the township, the Board of Supervisors has provided by each of these firms. And so I'll just go with the highest rate. Let's say with T&M, the principal and project manager would receive a rate of $102 an hour. For traffic planning and design, $95 an hour. For Remington Vernick, the conflict engineer, $108 an hour. So motions by anyone on the board regarding, we have a letter here from Mr. Sullivan indicating his desire to remain through T&M as the township's engineer of record, going off of the rates and expenses that are provided on this memo, or letter rather, dated December 20th. Is there a motion to reappoint Mr. Sullivan from the firm of T&M as township engineer of record using those rates provided?
Do we have to specify all the rates in the motion?
I don't think we do we?
No, as long as you reference the letter, and I think that since Mr. Harvey indicated what they were, as long as you reference the letter, that will set the rates for the coming year.
Okay.
And are we appointing the T&M or specifically the engineer? Or does it matter? Maybe it doesn't matter.
Prefer we go with the engineer. Yeah, in this case, Mr. Sullivan's had an interesting
I'm trying
track
to get rid
record.
of you.
My company's falls apart.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we appoint Jim Sullivan from T&M Associates as Township Engineer of Record at the rates that you mentioned before for the year 2012.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Comments or questions from board members?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you very much.
Traffic planning and design has been the traffic engineer now again since about 2004. Is there a motion to reappoint traffic planning and design as the township's traffic engineer for the year 2012, using the fees indicated on the letter dated December 30th?
I'll make the motion to reappoint traffic planning and design as our traffic engineer at the rate specified in the letter.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Comments or questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And lastly, the conflict engineer, Remington Vernick, is asking to be reappointed, and their letter is dated December 13th, and the rates are on the back of that letter. Is there a motion to that effect?
Are we reappointing them as the conflict engineer as well as the building code official?
The building code official, it's not necessary to reappoint them. That is a contract position that we have with them, and that is not something that needs to be voted on this evening. That's a contract that I believe still has, it's an ongoing contract with them.
Okay. I'll make a motion to reappoint Remington, Vernick, and Beach as the township conflict engineer at the rates specified in their letter.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Comments or questions? See none? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is the employment agreement for Mr. Peter Gray, the township manager. This is an agreement that is essentially the same in all respects as it has been for the past few years, except for the matter of salary, which does reflect an increase of I believe it's 4%.
Yeah, I think it was a little under 3.
What was it? What was it? It was 3. I'm sorry. I apologize. 3%. Thank you, Mr. Rocco. All right. Okay. And so the salary for Mr. Gray for the year 2012, if this agreement is approved, $117,021. Township manager, for those that might not be aware, essentially runs the township 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. There really is no off time for the township manager. He handles all matters regarding all personnel, getting this meeting ready to be organized or these meetings ready to be organized, handling all personnel issues. The people underneath him, or everybody in the township, essentially answers, to him, or answer to him. Chief Police included, as well as the Director of Public Works, Finance Director, the Code Enforcement Officer, Fire Marshal. He's essentially in charge of all of those people, and so he is really the sort of the CEO of the township in that respect. And he's been doing this particular job since 2007, and before that he was a finance director here from 99? 99. Okay. So, comments or questions regarding Mr. Gray's employment agreement? That supervisors and supervisor-elects also were provided with this draft of the agreement several weeks ago. Any comments or questions? Anyone?
No questions.
No.
Okay.
I had one. Mr. Gray, have you, in here, there's compensatory charges for anything over 35 hours?
Yes.
Up to 15%? In the
Yes.
past, have you invoiced us for extra time?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so is there a motion then to approve the employment agreement for Peter Gray for the year 2012 as manager, Township of Falls?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Comments or questions? No? All right. All right then, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say that Pete Gray helped to guide us through kind of a difficult period when our last township manager left, and I think he's done a great job under, at times, a lot of pressure. Obviously, you mentioned all the responsibilities he has had to deal with, so I'm glad to see him coming back and staying with us for at least one more year.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, you got one fan, Mr. Gray.
That's a fan club.
Okay, item number 9 is appointment of a vacancy board chairman. A vacancy board chairman is a position that hasn't been used, I don't think, since 2000. I think it was when the whole Allen Wilson.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
2000. Essentially, a vacancy board chairman is someone who would come onto this board temporarily should one of the board members leave the board and a new board member had to be appointed. The first step would be for the existing 4 members, the remaining 4 members, to vote on someone to fill that spot until the next election. If, because it's 4 members left, if there was always a 2-2 tie, if there could not be a decisive vote after, I think it's 1 month, a vacancy board chairman would then sort of take over, would come in and sit on this board basically for essentially 1 meeting just to provide a tie-breaking vote, hopefully. And we haven't had to use that for quite a while. And I know the person who has been vacancy board chair for several years now is Mrs. Arlene Goulding. I didn't see a letter from her, but I did talk to her over the weekend, and I know that she's interested. And I thought that she was going to be dropping off a letter. I thought she told me she was going to be dropping off a letter today. Did one come in, or?
I haven't seen one.
Okay. All right. But I do know she is interested in doing it. As I said, it's a position that really doesn't have any kind of authority or role unless one of us is no longer a supervisor and the remaining 4 people can't decide on an adequate replacement. Is there an interest in appointing Mrs. Goulding this evening? Like I said, I did speak to her, and I think I did notify board members that I had spoken to her. But if there, I don't know if board members want to wait until an actual letter has come in. That's what's the pleasure of the board.
I'd be happy to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to appoint Mrs. Arlene Goulding as vacancy board chair.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. Comments or questions?
None.
All right. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Appointments to various boards, councils, and commissions. Okay. Township has quite a few volunteer boards and some boards that do receive compensation. And there are boards that really help the township do their jobs, or do our jobs, and help the township run. And so we have a number of terms that have expired and some people that have put in for reappointment. We don't have to appoint everyone this evening to fill an opening, but I do know that there are some positions that we can look to fill maybe this evening if the board wishes to. Just to kind of run down quickly for people sitting in the audience and at home, we have a Board of Appeals with 1 vacancy, or with 1 person whose term was ended and he wishes to be reappointed. Cable Advisory Board, there are 2 term expirations as well as 2 vacancies. One of the people whose term expired, Mr. Bill Renson, wishes to be reappointed. Community and Economic Development Commission has 1 term expiration, Mr. Hess, who wants to be reappointed, and 2 vacancies. Disabled Persons Advisory Board has 3 vacancies. Environmental Advisory Council, there are 2 vacancies as well as 2 terms that have expired, and both of those people wish to be reappointed. Historic Preservation, 3 vacancies, 1 expiration of a term, and that person wishes to be reappointed. Historic Review Board has 1 position whose term has expired, he wants to be reappointed, and a vacancy that requires someone who is a registered architect or building contractor. Park and Recreation Committee, or Board rather, has 2 term expirations. Both women wish to be reappointed, as well as 1 vacancy. Planning Commission, 2 term expirations, and both of those people wish to be reappointed. And the Police Pension Committee, which has 2 people who wish to be reappointed, and as well, we need to have a board member appointed to that. And also, we have TOFA, Water Authority, which has 1-term expiration. That person wishes to be reappointed. We have other people interested in that seat as well. And a zoning hearing board with one person whose term has expired and she wishes to be reappointed. So as you can, before we get into the issue of sort of appointing people, just for anybody who might be interested either here or at home, quite a lot of boards you heard me say that have vacancies, and these are boards that meet usually once a month, some of them not even that often. The meetings are usually relatively short, and they oftentimes deal with issues that don't always get a lot of attention. But if there's something you want to do in terms of helping out the community, certainly we'd love to have you, volunteer and help make this community even better than it is. In terms of the seats we have open, or the positions we have open, I know that one of the more important positions, in terms of zoning hearing board, Mrs. Patricia Powers, who has been on the board for quite a while and has a lot of experience in zoning, wishes to be reappointed to her seat. There is no one else who put in a letter of interest, and so I think that's one of the boards that really needs to have its full membership. And so I'd ask board members to consider at least reappointing Mrs. Powers this evening. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to reappoint Patty Powers to the zoning hearing board.
And I believe it has to be a resolution, correct? All right, so it'd be resolution, I forgot, I'm sorry, 12-1? Okay, so resolution 12-1 would reappoint Mrs. Patty Powers to the position of zoning board for a 5-year term.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, any other people are interested in making nominations to any of the boards or commissions this evening? We don't have to appoint people this evening, just so you know, but it's always a good idea to help these committees get a jump start. Some of them do actually meet, I think, before we meet again. So
I'd be happy to make a motion to reappoint Mr. Michael Evanek to the Board of Appeals.
okay.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made and seconded for Mr., I'm not sure if it's Evanek or Evnick.
Evanek.
Okay, comments or questions for board members? Okay, all right, all in favor? Aye.
I'd also be happy to make a motion to reappoint Mr. Bill Renson to the Cable Advisory Board. Excuse me.
Okay, Mr. Renson's done a lot of work on that
done a lot
board
of very hard work.
for a very long time. I'd be happy to second that motion. Comments or questions? All right. All right, very well. Mr. Renson being nominated, motion made and seconded for another term on the Cable Advisory Boards. Are all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'd also be happy to make a motion to reappoint Mr. James Hess to the Community and Economic Development Commission.
I'll second that.
All right, motion made and seconded for Mr. Hess on the CEDC. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, also, there are 2 vacancies on the Community and Economic Development Commission, and I should have mentioned that there are also 2 vacancies on the Cable Advisory Board. And if anyone in the community is interested in serving, that would be a great help to the community, and you can express your interest in a letter to the township.
Or email.
Or an email to the township.
Okay.
I'd also be happy to make a motion to reappoint Mr. John Bentz to the Environmental Advisory Council. Can we do 2 at once, or have to do them individually?
You can probably do 2 at once if you'd like to.
Mr. John Bentz and Ms. Eileen Donahue.
Okay.
Seconded.
All right. Motion made and seconded for Mr. Bentz and Mrs. Donahue for the EAC. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Historic Preservation Commission, I'd make a motion to reappoint Mr. Robert Baker. He's expressed interest.
Seconded.
Okay. Motion made and seconded for Mr. Baker, reappointed to the Historic Preservation Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Historic Review Board, I see Mr. Gibson, who's been on the board for a while, wishes to be reappointed.
I'd be happy to make that motion as well.
Okay.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded to reappoint Mr. Gibson to the Historic Review Board for a 5-year term. All in favor?
Aye. Park and Rec Board, also, there are 2 members whose, did Quinn Kelly also express?
Yes, she did.
She wants to be reappointed. There are
Right.
2 members that have served, done a lot of good work for us and want to be reappointed, Quinn Kelly and Lois Lambing. Then make a motion to reappoint them to the Park and Rec Board.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I noticed there is one vacancy on Park and Rec, and I do know Mr. James Esposito, who had, I think, put a letter in several months ago, and I think I got a little lost, but he asked to be reappointed, or, sent his letter in again. And there is one vacancy. There may be a second vacancy in the near future. I know we have 2 gentlemen who are interested in being on that board, Mr. Esposito and Dr. Kadri. I know there's one vacancy, and I think there might be another one relatively soon, because one member has expressed some interest in possibly stepping down. But at this time, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. James Esposito to the vacancy on the Park and Rec Board.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And Mr. Kadri, can we inform him that hopefully there'll be another opening soon?
Yeah, I did reach out to him. I left a message for him. I didn't get a chance to get a hold of him. So it was over the weekend, so it could have been very busy. But in terms of Planning Commission, we have 2 expirations, and both members wish to be reappointed. Mrs. Perry and Mr. Shiro. Is there a motion to reappoint those 2 members to the Planning Commission?
So moved.
Seconded?
Okay, motion made and seconded for Mrs. Perry and Mr. Shiro to Planning Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Police Pension Committee. There is a board representative, a representative from this board who has to sit on the Police Pension Committee. Mr. Gray also sits on the Police Pension Committee. There is a representative from the Police Officers Union. He's named by the police department. And then there are 2 gentlemen, Mr. Roach and Mr. Conroy, both of whom have been on that board for a long time. They wish to be reappointed. I know Mr. Galloway has expressed interest in being the board representative.
Yes.
And so that would be just for this year. Is there an interest in nominating Mr. Galloway for that position on the Police Pension Committee?
Absolutely. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded to name Brian Galloway as the board's representative to the Police Pension Committee. All in favor? Aye.
I abstain.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to appoint Mr. Roach and Mr. Conroy to be reappointed to the Police Pension Committee?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there a second?
Seconded?
All right. Motion made and seconded for Mr. Roach and Mr. Conroy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right. I think we've...
And
handled
can
a
I
lot of them.
point out, the Shade Tree Commission has no vacancies, which I think is a really good idea. Apparently, trees are very popular in Falls Township,
Yeah.
and I hope 2012 will be a great year for tree planting.
And it's our Shade Tree Commission has actually done a lot of very, very good work over the past couple of years. They've managed to get, I forget, Mr. Grace just walked to the back to get the list by, I want to say it's a couple hundred trees that they've gotten through grants. So it's planting a couple hundred trees around the township at very, very little cost to the township, and it's largely through their work. So, salute them and thank them for all the work that they've done. And as Mr. Snipes pointed out, we do still have some openings on some of our boards and commissions. These are posted on the website, Mr. Gray, correct?
Yes, they
I
are.
think they're also on the township channel.
Yes.
And they'll be updated, hopefully, kind of soon. Obviously, we just filled a lot of these tonight, but we do still have some vacancies that we'll look to have some volunteers come out and hopefully get them filled and help us continue to make this township even better. So, okay. We're going to move to item 11, which is our public comment. All right. I see one name on the list, okay, which is Mr. Roland Kenny.
Good evening, Roland Kenny, Falls Township. Brian, Jeffrey, welcome to the board.
Thank
You should do well in there. And congratulations to all the rest of you that's got another year. Even guy with the big book. And my favorite manager. I like to say, two of my, some of you know I care for a lot of women.
You sure you want to state that way? You want to maybe, okay.
One of them is my wife. She retired the end of this year. And another one is Mrs. Ruth, Joan Ruth, Peter Gray's partner in crime. He does nothing without her okay. Don't let him kid you. You don't run it. She does.
We know that. Yeah.
And she's retiring. I think they both put in 37 years in the same place, if I'm not mistaken. And if they can put up with us men for 37 years, they deserve it. Okay, next, a couple meetings ago, a young man got up here and tried to bring our police department down, I felt, by saying he was robbed a couple $100,000. Well, I always thought, if I have a couple $100,000 invested someplace, I'm going to have insurance. If I don't have insurance, shame on me. I'm not going to go and blame the police department for not getting me back my money. That's what insurance is for. And as you've seen, a lot of these cars are getting broke into and stolen. We recovered quite a few of them, our police department. So when someone says they do nothing, that's bull. Our police department is, I consider them one of the finest in the United States, and I'll put our chief and our men up against anybody in this Commonwealth, our country, and we will beat them. All right, with that, good night, God bless you.
Thank you. Okay, that's the only name I had on the list. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak during public comment? No? Okay. All right. Okay, item 12 on the agenda is the appointment of depositories by resolution. The township every year must publicly approve of a list of banks and other agencies, financial institutions where the township's money can be placed throughout the course of the year. The township manager as well as the finance director work very hard to ensure that the funds of the township are taken care of and that they are placed in whatever institution is going to basically make us the most money. And there obviously are a lot of restrictions. As this is taxpayer money, we can't just send Mr. Gray down to Parks Casino with it, and hopefully hope he has a streak of good luck. There are a lot of restrictions on where the money can go, what kinds of funds it can be deposited into, and that's something obviously that Mr. Gray and our finance director, Mrs. Rukoff, know very, very well. But in front of the board members tonight is a listing of depositories that I'll read through in a second. Essentially, by approving these are the only institutions where our money can go for this year. And so saying it publicly so that we know, we don't have to worry about where the money is going. First National Bank and Trust Company, First Service Bank, Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, SEI Investments, Invest, J.P. Morgan Chase Manhattan, Bank of America, First Trust, Citizens Bank, TD Bank, Team Capital Bank. Now, it doesn't mean that all our money's in all those accounts, but essentially by approving that list, if any of them provide rates that are beneficial to us, the township manager and finance director have the authority to change money from one bank to another to take advantage of those rates. Comments or questions from, this would be resolution 12-2. Comments or questions from board members regarding this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, are there any additional banks on the list this year or any that we removed from the list? Or is this the same?
No,
list
it's
from
similar
last
to last year's. Of the 11 that are listed, we used the first 5 are in use. The other ones are available.
Thank you.
Okay. So the first 5, again, First National Bank and Trust, that's what First National, of Newtown, I think it is,
Yes.
right? Okay. First Service Bank, Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, SEI Investments, and Invest are the 5 where we currently have money. Okay. Other comments or questions?
No, you answered my question.
Okay. Any public comment needed? See no hands. All right, then, is there a motion to approve Resolution 12-2?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 12-2.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, item 13, recommendation to the Board of Auditors to set the treasurer's bond at $2 million. Mr. Gray, you want to explain this for us, please?
Yes, each year there's a recommendation that's made to the Board of Auditors for 3 treasurer's bonds, one for the township manager, one for the finance director, one for the secretary treasurer. They are both all 3 are at $2 million each. And basically what that does, that covers the amount of the bill list that is presented each month to the Board of Supervisors. So by doing this, we will have all those people bonded in the event of some emergency or if the money's taken out of the accounts.
Yeah, so if Mr. Dents flies to Tahiti with a lot of our money, because he's the secretary, treasurer of the board, we're covered up to $2 million?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Fly.
No, that's right, you don't fly. Swim. All right, okay, so comments or questions from board members? No? All right, is there a motion to approve the recommendation to the Board of Auditors to set the treasurer's bond at $2 million? All
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Seconded.
right, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 14, nominate delegate and alternate to the State Association's 90th Annual Education Conference and Trade Show. This is May 6th to the 9th, 2012. We don't usually nominate someone at this meeting. Typically we ask board members to take a look at their schedules and see if they're available. It's in Hershey, Pennsylvania every year. It's usually in the middle of the week, which sort of rules me out. I think, Mr. Galloway, you're probably in the same boat as me,
Yes.
and not being able to take off 3 days in the middle of a week in May. But if other board members, and this is not something that's a rush, we can do this even up to, I think even to the time that it starts, we can name a delegate. So something to think about. Take a look at your calendars and see if you're interested in spending a couple days in Hershey. I know, Mr. Dent, you've gone before.
I have.
Yeah.
A lot of very informative stuff up there.
You go before, too? Mr. Snipes, I think, I know has been as well. So, okay. All right, so executive session, we don't have a need for an executive session. Okay, manager comment, Mr. Gray?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. All right, board comment. Okay, we'll go to, I guess we'll start, seems fitting to start with our newest board members to see if they have any comments or questions or anything they'd like to say now that they're up here. Mr. Rocco?
I just want to wish everyone a happy new year, and I also like to thank everyone for electing me. I look forward to serving the next 6 years, so thank you.
Mr. Galloway?
Again, a happy new year to everyone, and I look forward to fulfilling the trust that the voters of Falls Township have given me. Thank you.
Mr. Dents?
Another happy new year, and I look forward to working with everyone this year, especially this Mr. Galloway and Mr. Rocco. It's going to be interesting and very smooth.
Okay.
That's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
Yes, I sense there's a change in the air. I can especially feel it in this seat. I think, seriously, I think good things are going to happen in the township this year. I think we have 2 excellent new board members. I feel we have already a good working rapport, and I look forward to working with people on the priorities that we'll be setting for the township. And we absolutely want citizen involvement. And you heard some of the vacancies that are available on boards and commissions. It's not the only way to be involved, but it is one really great way to be involved. So I hope you'll think about that, as well as coming to the meetings, or at least staying aware of what's happening in the township. It's always helpful to us to get feedback and hear ideas. So I look forward to 2012. It's going to be a good year.
Okay, thank you. All right, and I also would welcome the 2 new board members and thank everyone for being here this evening. Obviously a very productive meeting, very smooth meeting, so I appreciate all that. Mr. Kinney mentioned already Joan Ruth, who's the township secretary, is going to be retiring about the middle of this month. As the son of a former school secretary, I know that most places don't operate without the secretaries. They're really the ones who actually make everything happen. And so that's true in most schools, and I can vouch for that personally. And it's true definitely in this building. I think everyone in this building has an amazing amount of respect for Mrs. Ruth and the work that she's done over about 20 years that she's been here. Working through different managers, obviously a lot of different boards, a lot of different personnel, and she's one of the most professional people I've ever encountered in any line of work. And she definitely knows how to do this job of Township Secretary, which is not always an easy one. Normally the people that come in that door are not always real happy when they come in that door, and then you have to deal with Mr. Kenny as well on top of that. But she deals with them all very, very professionally, and she certainly has kept this township, moving in a positive direction. Sometimes, despite the people who are sitting up here or sitting in the different offices, but we'll miss her, and we wish you a lot of luck to Mrs. Rose Mall, who's going to be taking her spot, taking her position. Certainly, big shoes to fill. Mrs. Mall was here filling in for Ms. Poland when she was out last month as our township secretary, and she's been an employee here in the township in the code department for a while. So we wish her a lot of luck, and certainly not. I'm not going to say she's going to replace Mrs. Ruth. We don't think we can do that, but certainly she's going to do her best, and she'll be fine. Just one other comment. There was a newspaper article, I guess it was a couple weeks ago, maybe 10 days ago, about a rash of car burglaries here in the township, a lot of cars being stolen. And one of the things that I guess it was a little surprising was that our police department, working very hard to try and fix them, was finding that a lot of the cars, or all the cars that were being stolen, most of them had the keys inside. In some cases were even running. While overall I know the FBI has stated publicly that crime has been going down, and I think that's true. We certainly, part of the reason why it's going down, I think, is because people being a little bit more vigilant and making it harder for people to commit, sort of simple crimes like, taking a car like that. And so, just keep that in mind. If you get out of the car, take the keys with you. Make sure the engine's off. Of course, don't leave a child in the car unattended, especially not with the keys inside. We're overall, this is a wonderful place to live. It's a wonderful township, and I know the five of us up here are happy to be representing it and happy to have the trust of the public. And we do our best to fulfill that trust and do the best we can. And I want to thank all the people who have come out this evening, all the people who voted, and took part in that process. And also to all the people who have volunteered, the people we've reappointed this evening, and those who expressed interest or will hopefully express interest in the future in some of the boards and commissions we have. And I'm looking forward to a good year. So with that, we will have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.